So hey everybody, welcome back. Now in this video, I want to talk about a mistake I made when choosing an exam simulator. Now an exam simulator nowadays is a kind of must for the PMP exam. It's really difficult to consider you can pass it without one. And I was kind of judging myself, which one do I get? How do I get a PMP simulator? And to be honest with you, I think I made a bit of a mistake in my selection process. Now it wasn't critical, in the end I got the result. But I think in hindsight, if I was going to do it again, I'd do it differently. Now, the first thing to consider when you're doing a PMP simulator, and the obvious one, right, is the accuracy. Now, if you could, get a genie and you could ask a wish, and you say, what would be the perfect exam simulator? Apart from one that would give you the answers, of course, it would be that you get exactly like for like. If you get 70% in the exam simulator, you'd get 70% on the actual exam. This is kind of what you'd want in a perfect simulator. Now we know in reality we have two, if you can say, two unknowns. We don't really know what the PMI pass rate is for PMP. They keep it, they never say, or they haven't declared it for years. We kind of hear, if you research it, you hear numbers, but nobody really knows. They don't declare it officially. And the other thing is, if you buy a simulator, the truth of it is you don't really know how accurate it is or what is the margin for error on that simulator versus what you'll get in the exam. So what are you faced with? You're faced with having to make some assumptions. And there may be some margins. Now, the way that a lot of people look at that or manage that in the way I did was to think that, hey, if I have the hardest simulator I could get, then that automatically means that if I get the hardest simulator and the highest mark, I'm guaranteed to pass the exam. So I kind of went in this approach that I went for the hardest simulator I could possibly get. Now researching, the PMPrecast seemed to be the hardest simulator. And it was a good simulator. Now again, the other way to look at it, you could say, well, hang on now, PM StudyHall. Well, that's from PMI. It's got to be the best too, right? So then you could argue the case, which one of the two should I get? I mean, also PMI StudyHall is also very difficult as well. Now I took actually the PMPrecast simulator and the PM StudyHall, so I feel confident or feel I can speak about those two. Now there's another one on here which I would like to talk about, but I can't talk about in detail because I didn't buy it, because that's Andrew's simulator from TIA, Technical Institute of America. He has a simulator too. But I never bought that one. But I did do some of the, I think the free 10 practice exams or practice questions. So I'll mention a bit about it because it's worth to mention about that. So let's go back to the conundrum. What do? Do I buy the most difficult exam possible because I think that's going to represent the reality, the simulation, the reality? Or what else do I do? So I went down that route. I bought the PMPrecast. And yes, the questions were difficult. And then I also bought the PM StudyHall, and you know what? The questions were difficult. And then as I started going through them, and especially PMI StudyHall, I kind of realized, you know what? There's more to a good exam simulator than just being hard. Now, of course, it has to be relevant and up to date, and I think that both PMPrecast and, of course, StudyHall are up to date. But outside those obvious parameters, there's something else that I missed, that I saw really with Andrew's simulator. So I want to kind of give a thumbs up for Andrew's simulator, because online it kind of gets a bit of a bad rap for being too easy, and I think that's not fair. One of the other important attributes of a simulator that I've learned the hard way is its ability to tell you what you did wrong. So if you take, for example, PM StudyHall, quite often I was finding the questions were so difficult, I was getting them wrong, and the answers were just basically one-liners and the ones I got wrong, and a bit of explanation the ones I got right. But you know what? I couldn't improve that well because I couldn't really understand what I was doing wrong. Now with PrepCast Simulator, it's much better. When I got things wrong, there were much more explanation. Now, what's one of the best videos out there right now on YouTube on the PMP? That's the 200 ultra hard questions from Andrew. Everyone talks about how good they are. Guess what? The exam simulator is that times 1,000. And so there's no doubt about it. What listening to an experienced practitioner talking through the questions, why this is wrong, why this is right, especially with Andrew, such a good communicator, is gold. And I really made the mistake of not buying that one. And I only needed to buy that one, to be honest with you. What if you get 80 instead of 70? And that's the thing. People are saying, or at least I'm reading, that people are saying that the TIA exam simulator is easier than the other ones. Well, they're not saying I failed. They're just saying it's a little bit easier. And let me tell you something else I learned. The really tough and hard questions, the super hard questions, are so hard and abstract, I think you'd always fail them. And that really the power that I got, what allowed me to pass, which was thanks to PrepCast and Andrew's 200 questions, was when I couldn't understand a question, I got great information about how to do it right. And so that's the power of it, outside obviously telling you if you're ready or not. The real power of a good mock simulator is being able to explain to you why your answer is wrong and allowing you to go back and relearn it to get yourself up to speed. And those type of problem questions are from what they call moderate to difficult. On the PMI StudyHall, you have those levels. They talk about expert, difficult, moderate, and easy, you know. And I think you get up to difficult, maybe some expert, but you won't. Most of the exam is going to be on your ability to understand questions on difficult and moderate, not on expert. And obviously easy, by default, you have to know those. And by having a good simulator that allows you to really understand what you're doing wrong so you can really increase your level is really important to me. And that's kind of the mistake that I made, that I understood that the harder the simulator, the harder the questions, by default, obviously, I will get higher marks. Instead, what I should have thought, the better the simulator is explaining to me why I'm wrong so I can go back and really understand my weak areas and relearn it, that's more powerful. And I'll give it to the Cornelius PrepCast. It was pretty good. It gave a lot of detail and helped me. PMI StudyHall, I love the format of PMI StudyHall. I love the little games. It gives you the percentage of where you are to other people. It's wonderful. I love it. But it does miss that. And maybe they'll change that in the future. Here's another thing I just remembered about PMI StudyHall that can put you off a bit, is that when you do the mock exams, and I really hope they fix this, because it should be an easy fix, you don't get the question countdown, you get the percentage complete. And that can throw you off a bit. I mean, at the end of the day, why don't you just make it like the questions, like you would do in the real exam? And also, the other thing I got mixed up on, I think, with PMPrecast versus the others, some show the exams in hours and minutes, and some show them in minutes. And that can also get you out as well. It's really critical that you buy one. And the other side of it as well, my thought process here a little bit, but it's really important that you buy one, because I really don't know nowadays whether you could really pass it, or your probability of passing it is not really high if you don't buy one. I mean, I think your risk probability, again, it's all about risk. No one knows for sure. Maybe you're amazing and you pass it just after you get the application through, great for you. In reality, most of us are going to need to do those simulators, going to need to do those exams. The other aspect, which is also important, is the cost. Now, I always kind of weighed up, get a cost evaluation of having to retake the exam versus the price of a good simulator. I definitely gold-plated my simulation, no doubt about it. But again, you know, Andrew's is very cheap, but right now as I speak, I think it's $44. And I remember well, I think the PrepCast is around the $79, $80 range for the deluxe, if I remember well. Not PrepCast, sorry, PMI StudyHall. PrepCast is the more expensive one. It's clear, you can see that. But it's not terrible, it's not bad, it's pretty good. It definitely helped me get through my exam. The combination of StudyHall and that was really good. What I would say to you is really consider hard about getting a simulator. Don't automatically think that if you have a simulator that's hard, it's good. It is getting difficult to not justify buying PM StudyHall because it's so cheap and it's accurate. And more importantly, the more people that buy it, and the more people and feedback and data you get from people who got percentages on those mock exams versus if they passed or failed in the real exam, is giving a really big data spread, statistical relevant data on the kind of percentages you need to get in those mocks to relate that to the real exam. So StudyHall is becoming important, but where I still see the real entry point for trainers is the explanations, the detailed explanation, which is what really grows you. A good simulator will tell you pass or fail. It might not be so great at getting those numbers up, whereas a simulator by a great PMP trainer, such as Andrew and so on, that will really help you. And also David is done good well on YouTube. I have nothing against any of the trainers. I like the competition. I think it's good for us. So I like all the trainers out there that are experienced and willing and good. So that's all I want to say on the simulator. Think about it. It's very hard not to consider PMI StudyHall, but also consider Andrews, which is really good for videos, and best of luck in your exam.